Hey guys, it's Mike from Kingfisher Outdoors, and on today's episode, I'm going to be recapping all of my greatest moments from 2024. We're going to take a look at some of the waterfalls, some of the hikes, and some of the fishing trips that I took back in 2024. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the videos. Let's go. I think the last video that I posted in 2024 was Bronco Overlook. And Bronco Overlook was a super easy, kind of spur of the moment hike that I took. It's a place that I'd never been before and had always heard things about it and stories about people pushing a Bronco over the edge and a lot of things that intrigued me about it. And I always heard what a beautiful overlook it was. So I decided to take that hike. It was only 1.4 miles out and back. So you're looking at 3 miles total, but the hike out there are very easy, and I think it was actually a horse trail as well. So once you get to the overlook, it's kind of hidden by trees. The trail's fairly maintained for horses, but I don't think the overlook's maintained all that much. So once you get there, you kind of have to walk down a rock ledge to actually get a pretty good view of the Big South Fork River running through. But once you get there, it is pretty beautiful, and it is kind of dangerous. Just, you know, looking at it from my point of view, it was very windy that day, but seeing how steep the rock face was that you're standing on might make a few people a little uneasy, but if that doesn't bother you, definitely a trip worth taking. Another short hike that I took with my daughter one day was the Sunset Overlook. Now, the Sunset Overlook, that's another easy trail. I think it was 1.4 miles as well. Pretty much the same length as Bronco Overlook. But again, it's flat, and the colors were actually popping that day. Peak fall colors out, and I got to enjoy that with my daughter. We walked out to the overlook, and the rock that you stand on that overlook, you can actually see East Rim Overlook from there. That's a beautiful overlook in itself, and definitely an easy hike to get to. That's one that I recommend anybody new to the Big South Fork, start with that one. Or if you got just a few hours to go see something, that one and East Rim Overlook together, that would make a very good hike for a day hike. Now, I'm not for sure if anyone's heard of Burkes Cabin in the Big South Fork, but it's not really marked. It's essentially a horse trail around the Big Island area. And it's a old cabin that had been there since, don't quote me, but probably somewhere around the early 80s, maybe mid 70s, right about the time that the park came in. And somebody, went up there, and I think his name was J.D. Burke, had went up there and hauled in the supplies and built a nice little cabin for himself. And decided to take that hike. Again, like I said, it was a horse trail. Peak fall colors that day. Pretty beautiful. I ran into some wild turkeys flying around, and you hike all the way down along the river, so there's a lot of beautiful scenery that way. Once you get to the cabin, it's up on the hill on your right, and went up to check it out, and the cabin's actually larger than you would think if you've never seen it before. I think it's got at least 2 or 3 bedrooms in it, and kind of a loft, and a very impressive fireplace to be as deep in the woods as it is. But there's still graffiti and things like that you run into. You're always going to run into that no matter where you're at. If you're in the Big South Fork or you're in the Smoky Mountains, I'm sure Glacier Park, all of those places have graffiti. I definitely don't like to see that, but it is what it is. Another thing that we ran into on the hike through there was there was an old car. Not sure if it was a Ford Falcon or it looked like a 60s model, somewhere around their car, and had been there for years. Somebody had abandoned it, and through the years bullet holes and, weathering and all that. You almost can't tell what it is. It was flipped upside down. But it is kind of odd to see something like that, but it also is something to see. But as far as Burkes Cabin, that's definitely another hike to take. Not a lot of people know about it, but maybe after seeing this video, a few will. So, okay, the Picket State Park trip that me and my daughter took, the plan was to go there and take the kayaks and do some fishing for trout, because they do stock that area with trout, and just enjoy the day and go under the, there's an arch there that you can kayak through, and we decided to do that for the day. Well, it didn't go as planned, and a storm rolled in pretty quick. And I thought, maybe we can get under one of these rock shelters in our kayaks and let the rain blow through. But the longer we waited, the darker the sky got, and you could hear thunder in the background. So I was like, we probably need to get to shore and, find some shelter. Well, as we were getting there, the storm had just rolled in. And as you probably can see, there was a big lightning strike right as I was reaching the front of the bank there. So pulled our kayaks up and ran as fast as we could, try to get to the shelter. And the rain just came down like, out of a boot. But we stood there and thought we would hang out there for a while. But a ranger came by to check on us and said, I'll give you a ride to your vehicle. So we jumped in it with him and got in the car and, tried to wait the storm out. And, waiting the storm out, we picked up our kayaks and decided to go do a little bit of exploring and see what kind of damage it had done, because the ranger had said that lightning had struck one of the trees right by the ranger station. So we were driving through, and that was so much water. There was so much water that day flowing. Everything was flooded. The electric was out, and that kind of just put a stop on the day for us. So we decided to head home, and wouldn't you know it, that the road was blocked by trees and things like that had fallen in the road, and the power companies were there fixing everything. So we had to stop for a little while and wait on that. But that area had been pelted before with a pretty heavy storm. So not new to them. They were very quick about getting the tree out of the road and getting the lines back up and the electric back on. When you go on trips like that, you run into things. You run into storms. You run into, you never know. And that's part of the adventure. So we hope to go back to that one this year and actually get to take some more footage and catch some fish, and hopefully there won't be a storm. Now, one of my favorite hikes and waterfalls is Yahoo Falls. Yahoo Falls is the tallest waterfall in Kentucky. I think it's 113 feet, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The hike to get there, it's fairly easy, but there is one section where there's probably one of the longer staircases I've ever encountered on a hike. So when you go down it, just remember that you will have to go up it. There's areas to rest at the top if you get a little bit winded from those stairs like I did. I'm not going to lie. But Yahoo Falls in itself, beautiful, beautiful falls. You can actually hike all the way around it and under it, and then the trail comes back around, and there's like a little bridge where you can get a straight on view. And on up from that even is Yahoo Arch, which I made a short video about Yahoo Arch. That's a pretty neat arch to go check out as well. But definitely, if you're in the Big South Fork in the Kentucky side, Yahoo Falls is one of those places that you would definitely want to check out. Now, another waterfall that I liked was Northrup Falls, and it's actually in the Colditz Cove recreational area. That hike's pretty easy. There is like a couple of little switchbacks, and it does get rocky once you get pretty close to the falls, but man, what a beautiful place. Definitely a beautiful day hike for anybody who wants to give it a go. Again, the only rough spot I would say would be right near the falls. And there's a large rock shelter. It's another falls that you can go behind, similar to Yahoo Falls, but that's toward the Jamestown area in Tennessee. So that's another hike that I would recommend anybody to go take. I think even kids, 6, 7 years old would enjoy that one. A lot of the destinations that I go see are waterfalls, and that's definitely a feature that most people like to see. One in Kentucky is Cumberland Falls that I didn't make a video about it because I think that's, kind of an attraction that everybody hears about in Kentucky and wants to go see. But a little ways down the road, there's a place called Dog Slaughter Falls. And the name, you would think that, why did they name it that? Well, I have no idea. I've heard several different theories and stories on that, but that's a beautiful hike as well. And Dog Slaughter Falls, creeks, and it does have a couple of switchbacks once you start getting down into the holler where the waterfall is. But, there's rest spots there, and just be very careful when you're going down. That was actually one of the places where I ran into a lot of snakes that day, garter snakes in particular. And the one that sticks out in my mind is there was a large one right by the creek that had grabbed a toad and was having him for a snack. I made a full video of the snake eating that toad, which, it fascinates me. Some people may think that's gross or that's cruel, but, it's part of nature. And if you're interested, go check that video out on my channel. But the falls, there's on a couple of groups on Facebook, there's a log that, it's famous for. It's been there for years. And we got to see that log next to the falls. But recently I had heard that the log was gone. So we're definitely going to have to take a trip out there and look at that. And there's actually a connector trail that goes to Shohoe Trace, and that'll take you right on out to the Cumberland River, which runs into Cumberland Falls. But we took a little short trip out there and, just to see what was out there, and made the return trip back. Beautiful day for a hike, beautiful day all around. I really like that waterfall. Definitely going to be back in 2025 to check that one out. Hopefully I can bring you guys along. And probably one of my first hikes was the Gentleman's Swimming Hole. Now, there's no waterfall here, but in and itself, it's a beautiful hike. It's right down from the rugby community. If you've never been to Rugby, it's kind of an old timey looking town. They've kept the buildings and the houses there in a certain style. I can't remember exactly what the style is called, but the church is there, beautiful church. And the hike is just past the church. I think it starts at a graveyard. I can't remember the name of the graveyard, but it starts right there and it makes a loop. And I think the Gentleman's Swimming Hole was named because there was a lot of people, years ago that would go and swim down there. But that's another beautiful hike that makes a loop. And I think it actually goes to the forks of the river, where I tried to do a little bit of fishing, but didn't have any luck. So we ran around there and checked that out. That's another hike that I would recommend. I'm not sure if it's actually in the Big South Fork. It may be, but I'd recommend that. Go check that one out. Also made a couple of fishing videos in 2024, and actually that was one of my very first videos, was kayak fishing for crappie. And that's a local pond that it's always done really well. They've actually revamped it recently, and it's a really good place to go fishing for crappie and largemouth, and I think they do stock it with trout occasionally. But that was a pretty good day, even though the quality of the video that you guys got to see wasn't that great. That was my first video. You guys got to give me a little break on that one. I used a chest-mounted camera, and you got to see the hook sets and you got to see the fish up close, but it was mostly just my hands. So the next video actually got better because I decided to build a kayak mount camera, and you got to see more of an overhead view, and that was fishing at a local reservoir where I caught even more crappie that day. Lots of bluegills on beds. I got some good footage of the beds. You can see them swimming around the beds, but I bet you I caught 100 fish that day. They were hitting like crazy. I was using the Berkeley Gulp minnow, which probably is one of my favorite baits, and I've yet to see it fail. Also threw a couple of Bobby Garlands, just to mix it up a little bit to see what I could get. Those worked well also. So I definitely want to do a little bit more fishing content this year. I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to because of scheduling and fishing with the rain and all that, but I'll definitely bring you guys some more fishing content this year. So make sure to look out for that. Now, another thing that I'm going to try to bring you guys more of is camping content. I want to show you this little foamy camper. If you're not familiar with a foamy, it's a small homemade camper made out of foam, super insulated, super lightweight. I think mine weighs around 400 pounds, so you can pull it with pretty much anything. But I did take a camping trip down to the Great Meadow in the Daniel Boone National Forest. That's probably one of my favorite camping areas in the Big South Fork. Or actually, it's in Daniel Boone. I think they kind of overlap a little bit there, but that's where I made the shrimp kebabs. Showed you guys how to make those, sweet and spicy. You got a little bit of shrimp and bacon and peppers and stuff on the grill. Hard to beat. Also gave you guys a little tour of the campground, which most of the campsites are right on the creek, and they do stock that creek with trout ever so often. I think the cost associated with camping there is just $10, but you get water, but there's no electric there, so it's semi-primitive. You do get vault toilets there to use. Just a beautiful, well manicured campground. If you want to visit someplace and feel like you're away from it all, but not really. Well, guys, 2024 is in the books, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. 2025 actually looks like it's going to be even better. So I hope you guys join me for adventures camping, fishing, and hiking this year. And I want you guys to like, subscribe, comment on these videos. Tell me which video that you enjoyed the most. I'd really like to see that. But anyway, here it comes, 2025. I'll see you guys there. I'm Mike King for Kingfisher Outdoors. I'm out of here.